There is Mikel Pons, your pole position sitter for today. He was certainly from the gravel trap to Parc Fermé. His own crash after setting the benchmark time yesterday, which was, in fact, the fastest lap time over the course of the entire weekend so far. A 1:48.3. Well, it was the benchmark time, and then he binned it. And, well, because of the amount of time that it took to get the bike out of the gravel, he actually took pole position as well. Second on the grid, though, Hector Garzo.
Yeah, Hector Garzo making a return to the MotoE World Cup for the first time since 2019. And right on cue to find out a bit more about Hector and his chances for today's race, we're going to pass down to Fran Wild, who is on the grid with his team boss, Hervé Poncharal.
I am indeed. So Hervé, thank you for joining us firstly. It's a lovely sunny day here on the grid at Jerez. Very first race of the MotoE season. Are you excited to see it get underway, and what are your chances? How are you feeling about the team today? You've got certainly almost pole position, just a few thousandths off.
Yeah, we're really excited. This is, something where, the fact that you have no noise, the fact that everybody was waiting there, you didn't have any warm-up, so clearly you can feel some tension. They had already tested twice, 3-day session here in Jerez, and you can feel there is a real tension on the grid. I am also a bit tense. And we got a brand new team this year, as you mentioned, with Hector Garzo, who is back with us after, 2 years doing the Moto2 Championship. Brand new young rookie with Alexis Krieg. And the target, of course, is to fight in front, to fight for the victory. But we know, qualifying and race is a bit different. We know Domi Aegerter, we know Granado, all the Torres. This guy will be there too. So I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting race, and hopefully I'll see you at the Parc Fermé to enjoy a nice podium finish.
We shall see. Best of luck anyway. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, friend. Thanks as well to Hervé Poncharal. You've been seeing some of the main players on the grid for today's race. Mikel Pons, obviously, on pole position ahead of Garzo. Pons Casadei, he switched teams. He's in the Pons squad for this year. And Eric Granado, he will start from fourth. Another man that has changed team over the winter break, man.
Next alongside a note, Dominic Aegerter, we saw him just a moment ago. He's not changed teams for this season. Once again, in MotoE, he will be with the Dynavolt Intact GP squad, hoping to become the first ever MotoE World Cup winner, champion, whatever you like to say, and World Supersport champion in the same year. He so very nearly did it last year, but one rider who was just on your screen there looking to take it from him, Matteo Ferrari, your inaugural World Cup overall winner, starts from P6 here today.
He does indeed, yeah. And speaking of World Cup winners, here is the double MotoE World Cup champ. Jordi Torres has quite a bit of work on his hands this afternoon, starting from the front of the third row. 7th place for Torres. And, it's going to be quite fascinating to see just what strategy he takes in the 8-lap race that we have ahead. Will he attack, or will he follow his usual strategy of getting some solid points on the board at the start of the season?
The pork chops are very neat and tidy, so let's see how he gets on with the racing here today. It was a cracking race that we had this time last year. Fran, you got any final thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say that in the pre-event press conference, everyone was like, there's 14 races, so now it's even more important to be consistent. But I would have thought for a few on the grid that maybe it's actually a little bit less pressure because there's more races, there's more time to make up for that DNF if you do suffer one. So I said it to Eric Granado this morning, sort of off the record, like, am I thinking wrong about this? And he just kind of smiled. So I'm interested to see what the tactics are this season, because we've had some that have made their calling card consistency, like Ferrari and Torres, and then some who've always been elbows out. But I guess we're about to find out for the first two anyway. Yeah,
and one person who will be very thankful about that potential, should we say, it's a bit easier to be less consistent also, will be Bradley Smith, sidelined this weekend through injury he suffered at the Le Mans 24-hour race. He's actually replaced by Lukas Tulovic here today with With You GRT RNF MotoE team. Lukas Tulovic will be starting from 11th on the grid, and Bradley Smith, well, we hope to see him back in Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time. He'll be very thankful for that, of course. I completely agree with you, Fran. I think a few of the riders can afford to take a few more risks, go for the win, if perhaps previously they would settle for a second or a third or even a 4th place finish. It's an all-new dynamic for MotoE this year. Kicked off yesterday, of course, Neil, with that new qualifying format.
Exactly, yeah. E-pole is now a thing of the past. We have a Q1 and Q2 session just like we do in the other Grand Prix categories with MotoE for this year. And speaking to the front row, yesterday. The three riders were all very complimentary about the new session. Obviously not quite as critical, and you do actually have a chance to make a mistake in that Q2 session and not be punished as critically as you were. But this is the front row. Casadei third, Hector Garzo starting from second, but Mikel Pons will be starting the first round of this World Cup from pole.
Well then, tyre warmers about to come off. The 3-minute board goes away. We'll take another look at the grid then before the start of this race. Pons take off from pole position. Garzo second, Mattia Casadei in third. Granado takes off from fourth ahead of Aegerter and Ferrari in sixth place. What about the third row though? It is of course the number 40, the two-time MotoE World Cup winner, Jordi Torres, taking off from seventh position. Alongside him he has Hikari Akubo and then Alex Escrig, one of the new riders there. You can see the photos aren't quite ready. It's so fresh and new, especially with some of the last minute changes. Nicolo Canepa, the first of the With You MotoE squad bikes, starts from 10th ahead of Tulovic and Zanoni on the outside of that fourth row. Maria Herrera heads the fifth row of the grid ahead of Kevin Manfredi and Mark Alcoba. And that is Maria Herrera's new teammate for the year. Jere Ruiz replaces Xavi Cardalus this weekend through injury. Alessio Finello starts from 17th, and 18th is Xavi Forés on the Pramac Octo Pramac MotoE squad. Mikel Pons has one win to his name so far in MotoE. Who will take victory here today as we rewind towards a year ago? It was Alessandro Zaccone, now on the Moto2 grid, who took that victory ahead of Aegerter. What will happen with Granado? Well, he was super fast as always, but he actually crashed out a year ago before remounting and finishing in 13th place. Neil, any last minute predictions?
Oh, that's a dangerous one to put me on the spot just like that, Matt.
Yeah.
But I think Eric Granado from the start of the second row could be one to watch. Certainly had the speed yesterday. Was a little unlucky with yellow flags. And yes, a runaway winner here in, I think, 2020 it was for the Brazilian. So watch out for him. New team, of course, in LCR colours this year. Teammate to Mikel Pons. I think we're in for, though, a pretty close fight at the front, man.
Do you know what? I reckon my money's on Hector Garzo, actually. I know I'm so classic and I never, ever choose an actual prediction. I normally name about half the grid, and that's normally in Moto2. But in MotoE, my money today would be on Hector Garzo. Making a return to the series for the first time since 2019, where he performed so well over the course of that year, bagging 3 podium finishes, 2 second places and 1 third over those 7 races. He bagged himself a Moto2 ride for 2 years before returning here for the 2022 season.
Yeah, of course, no warm-up lap for the MotoE challengers. They've had no track time today so far, so this is basically it. Thrown into the deep end. The 30-second board is shown, and now we get ready for the start.
Well, the silence awaits. It will break and will burst into life once again for 2022. MotoE, well, there really is nothing like it out there in the world. All eyes on the lights, ladies and gentlemen, because we're about to burst into life once again in MotoE. 2022 is go, and it's a relatively clean jump by about everybody. It's Garzo, who looks as though he's going to get the whole shot down and towards turn 1, followed by Pons and Casadei. Granado there in fourth, but for how long? Granado goes up the, outside of Ferrari on the inside. It is Garzo who's got the whole shot, but Pons looking up the inside into turn 2. He shuts the door. What about Aegerter in towards turn 2 as well? We are all cleanly through up towards turn 3.
Yeah, Aegerter didn't get the best jump, but he made up some good time at turn 2. Jordi Torres has had a bit of a difficult start as well. He didn't get off the line so cleanly. He's dropped the place back to 8th.
Well, very, very smooth indeed. This is not really a classic first race of the year thus far, but turn 5 is pretty tricky. We saw that a year ago with a couple of crashes a year from in the past, but down the back straight we come for this first time. Take a look at the slipstream. Garzo fully tucked in. He's pretty well hidden behind the screen there, but Casadei always solid on the brakes. He gets the jump in towards turn 6, but not for long. Garzo punches straight back.
Yeah, Casadei has historically been great into the dry sack with the Dani Pedrosa corner, taking it again into turn 7.
Gosh.
That is brave stuff from the new Pons rider at the front.
That is absolutely brilliant. And what about Granado looking up the inside of his new teammate Mikel Pons? He's there in 4th place. Ferrari looking strong in 5th. Where is your World Cup winner from last year? Torres, he's in 8th place at the moment.
Yeah, Kari Okubo, former World Supersport rider, took Torres off the line. That's the rider that is riding for the IO Motorsport squad for a 2nd year running, and he's looking pretty good in 7th. We are seeing the front 3 just break away here. Casadei, Garzo and Pons, the front row sitters, are your front men, and they're eking a little gap ahead of Eric Granado.
Dare I say it, touching wood, it's a little bit calm at the moment, but what about this prime overtaking opportunity?
Oh.
Granado up the inside of Ferrari into that final turn. He loves that. He was all action there yesterday. Sideways stuff into it, just dark lines billowing off those rear tyres. The new Michelin tyres that we have for this year, ever more sustainable, as we like to see with MotoE. So across the line we have come, and it's Casadei who leads up 2 places from where he started on the grid.
Yeah, Casadei, of course, he's had 3 second places and 3 thirds in his 3 previous MotoE World Cup campaigns, but he's never actually stood on the top step of the podium. So this, in some respects, is unprecedented territory for him to be leading the way at the front. So go on board with Tommy Aegerter. You can see he's right in touch there with Matteo Ferrari just ahead.
Oh,
Ferrari,
wow. Way beyond track limits. That is absolutely not permitted. You only get a couple of chances at that before race direction will send you through the long lap penalty lane, which is at the final corner. There's a little bit of a gap now appearing between the top 3 and the pursuing pack. Fran, have you got something to add?
I was just going to say, to remind you, it's only 1 in MotoE that you're allowed outside track limits before it's a warning.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much for the reminder. So keep an eye on that then. Ferrari cannot afford to go wide any more times, or he will be going straight through the long lap penalty lane potentially.
Yeah, I must say I'm a little surprised here, Matt. Eric Granado, with clear track ahead, hasn't really been able to make impressions on the group ahead. You can see he's losing time, hand over fist on this lap. I mean, he's 4/10 slower on this lap alone than the guys ahead. And, well, it looks as though we have a 3-rider fight for the victory at the moment.
Well, if you take a look to the graphics to the left of your screens there, you can see the exclamation mark, the warning sign almost next to Ferrari and Aegerter. That means they have got that track limits warning for both of the riders in 5th and 6th. Are they maybe then, Neil, getting a little bit held up by Granado potentially, dare I say it?
Oh, it could well be, yeah, because you can see there Tommy Aegerter has had one as well. We go on board with Jordi Torres. He's going to have to dive underneath the Kubo into the final turn. He goes a little wide.
Pushes it wide, but he manages to make it stick just about, does Torres. Over the start and finish line they'll come once again then. 6 laps to go. Fastest lap of the race so far was Garza. We've got a faller at the final corner. We'll find out who it is very shortly. But as we carry on with 6 laps to go, that's actually Ferrari's teammate Alessio Finello.
Yeah, Finello coming down. He was a little further back in the field and he's crashed out at the final turn, but that means that there are yellow flags in sector number 4. Unfortunate for him.
Well, down he goes then. When it really bucked him off there on the exit of the turn, didn't it? Well, unfortunate for him, but thankfully he's okay. Should be getting up and riding and racing tomorrow. Back to the action then. Down at the back straight we come. Casadei and Garzo neck and neck in towards Dragsack corner. It looks like Garzo's got the jump on Casadei now. Neil, perfect time to talk about though some of the riders. Well, with the changes to the bike, difference in the engine, some upgrades there, reduced weight by 15 kilograms has really changed the feel for some of these riders. Some of them not quite yet had the time to figure it out.
Exactly, yeah. We've only had 2 pre-season tests at this track, and both of those tests were heavily affected by the rain, so no one has really had too much time to set the bike up with this new lighter bike. I think it was 262 kilos that it weighed in the past. Now it's down to 249, so it's a little more agile than we had in previous campaigns in the MotoE World Cup. And yeah, there was a few fears that some riders might be feeling a little uncomfortable with the front end, making overtaking a little precarious, but we haven't seen any of that so far, touch wood.
No overtakes into the final turn this time around, as it looks like Finello's bike is still being moved away. Yes, it is. So green flags from this point. Riders can overtake once again.
Yeah, and absolutely forget what I said about there being a 3-rider fight at the front, because Eric Granado has just put in his personal best lap of the race, a 148.1, and that is enough basically to have slashed the gap ahead to Mikel Pons. He's now right with these guys.
Well, 4-way fight for the win. That is a bit of me. Thank you very much indeed. So Granado, well, adjusting to the conditions as he goes along in this race. 5 laps to go. How many different teams has he been on now? Is this his 4th team?
For Granado?
Yes.
His 3rd.
His 3rd team.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just looking back down the field, Matt, to Jordi Torres. Not quite making any impressions on Matteo Ferrari just ahead. He's got about half a second to make up to get towards this top 6. A little bit of a subdued performance so far from the 2-time champ.
Track limits warning for Maria Herrera as well now. She's down in 15th place where she started, just a couple of places further down than where she started on the grid at the start of the race. So in towards these final sectors we come then, and it's all pretty even Stevens between not just the top 4 but the top 5 as well, because Aegerter is closing in too. Granado looking for a way through on his teammate Mikel Pons. Look at the difference in line and riding styles there, and if Granado's not careful, well, Aegerter will be sending him up the inside as well.
Yeah, Aegerter has made this a lead group of 5. Matteo Ferrari just getting dropped ever so slightly. He hasn't really been able to live with Aegerter's pace
Ferrari,
on this lap.
way beyond track limits once again. That will surely be a long lap penalty for him. He was so wide there, that was almost ridiculous, dare I say.
Yeah, he's having some issues, isn't he, with keeping it within track limits just at the moment, and it's all relatively calm at the front of this race so far, with 5 guys pretty much all together and in line. I do feel that 2 laps maybe, or 3, until the flag, things might start to get rather interesting.
Yeah, when you watch sort of all these other Grand Prix class races where you tick down to 4 laps to go, you tend to see the tone of the race completely change. Things get a bit more frantic. It's been quite calm up until now, Neil. Not on that first race vibes. It's all a bit silly almost. People making more daring moves they'd never make it throughout the rest of the season. But this, at the moment, a little bit calm and orderly. Are you sure we're watching MotoE?
Calm before the storm, Matt. Don't worry. Give it a lap or 2 and I'm sure things will start heating up. The quickest man that last time around was Dominic Aegerter, who I think was around 4/10 quicker than anyone else inside the top 10. So the Swiss rider is getting closer towards the front. The number 77, keep an eye on him.
Well, the rider looking least patient of all is Casadei, swarming all over the back of Garzo. He's made a move in towards turn 6 up the inside, and as does Pons, but Garzo says, no, I'm shutting the door on you, sunshine. Thank you very much. Stay where you are. Casadei then takes over the lead once more.
Yeah, great stuff from Casadei. He does love that turn 6 overtaking point.
And Granado loves that. That's not an overtaking spot normally, but it is in MotoE. Sensational stuff. He's been really cutting a super fine tight line there, setting him up very nicely for this turn 9 and turn 10. Brilliant stuff from the Brazilian.
Excellent stuff from Granado. He's calmly found his way back into this podium fight. He's found himself up into 3rd. We have yellow flags in sector 3 and 4. We're not exactly sure why that is just at the moment. But Granado, you have to say, is the danger man in this pack.
Yeah, absolutely so. Down into the final corner we come, and Garzo's looking at the inside line, just takes a little look, perhaps sort of a dress rehearsal run for later on in the race. Granado right on his tail now as Casadei leads them out of the final corner once again. Yellow flags, I'm not really sure why though.
Yeah, it could have been, well, I'm not exactly sure, Matt, yeah, to be honest, but green flags
now.
onto the start-finish straight.
And I think Garzo has made a bid for the lead. Yes, he has. Garzo has got the lead once again from Casadei, but he's fighting straight back in towards turn 2. Wowee, that was brilliant stuff. We're riding on board with Aegerter looking forward at Pons and Granado. That was a proper great view. That was really good stuff. Casadei, though, is running very wide, just at the limits of the curbs there. Granado swarming all over the back of Garzo now into turn 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if Casadei can defend okay coming down into this turn 6 place. This is where he's been so strong on the brakes all race long, but Garzo and Granado are both within range to make a move.
Wow, this is fierce. Once again, Garzo outbreaks Casadei, but does he run it wide? No, just about. Yes, he does. Casadei with the hit back straight in towards out of turn 6 into turn 7, but Garzo holds the inside line. Pons fighting off Aegerter as well. This is the MotoE. We come to love, and Granado up into 2nd spot as well. Goodness me, I barely recovered from Misano last year, and they're at it again.
Yeah, keep calm out. We've still got 2 and a bit laps to go, but Granado is so good into turn 8, the second of those fast lefts after the dry sack hairpin, and he is looking really strong here with just over 2 laps to go. Granado now, can he make his work on Casadei? You have to imagine the Brazilian has got a plan.
It's not just us going a little bit mental. I can see the French broadcasters in the commentary box next to us. We've got this window there, just as animated as we are. And it's Granado making a bid for the lead. Can Casadei see him? He lets him go through. He says, I've got to sit up.
No.
He goes down. He gets taken out by Mikel Pons. It's a disaster for Casadei. It could have been his first win, but no, he's down on the asphalt and out for this race 1 of 2022.
Oh, that's a real shame for the Italian. I think that was the strongest, most likely we've seen from him to race at the front, possibly for a win, and that has shaken up the order quite considerably. Eric Granado suddenly has 0.4 of a second advantage. Jordi Torres has managed to take advantage of that. Hector Garzo has been really heavily punished for that. He's dropped down to 6th.
Goodness me, so that leading pack, well, it's no longer a leading pack. Granado is out front. He's got some daylight between him and Mikel Pons. Can Aegerter or Pons do anything about this lead that Granado has? Will it be redemption after what happened last year, crashing out of a pretty solid spot here a year ago in Jerez? Ferrari into 4th now, Torres in 5th.
Yeah, exactly. And Hector Garzo has just had a total half lap to forget, hasn't he? Fighting all the way back there with Jordi Torres, but he's managed to take the place back from the reigning MotoE World Cup holder. I think Garzo is back up into 5th. We're going to see a replay here. This is Granado going underneath Casadei, and then just contact with Pons as Casadei came back onto the line. I don't know, Matt, if that warrants a penalty for Mikel Pons, to be honest. It looked like a...
Well, Granado was so wide as well, and you can't blame him for trying.
And that's why Garzo has lost so much time. He had to pick the bike up and take avoidant action to not get collected by Casadei's machine. So hard lines there for Garzo, but he still is just about in this podium fight.
Neil, we're coming round to the final sector of the penultimate lap, and Pons and Aegerter are both on the hunt, chasing down the Brazilian of Eric Granado. He's not managed to pull away. They're reeling him in perfectly for a grandstand finish next time around. This is the final corner where you need to keep your eyes on, ladies and gentlemen. 1 lap to go here in the first race of MotoE in 2022. It's Granado, Pons, Aegerter, Ferrari and Garzo leading your World Cup winner from last year, Jordi Torres, in 6th. They're all together for the final lap. What a finish this will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Granado has lost a second to his teammate Pons on that last lap, but he still has a comfortable enough buffer, you would say. I think Pons might need to be a little more concerned with what's going on behind them, because Domi Aegerter is making some very interesting shapes with that Energica Corsa machine in 3rd, and Matteo Ferrari looking pretty strong there in 4th as well. So
how fast is Eric Granado in that initial 1st and 2nd sector here? But can they catch him up down the back straight here and towards Drysack?
And Matt, Pons has been given a long lap penalty in this lap for that move at the final turn with Casadei.
Goodness me, so he's not probably going to take it. He's not going to see it in time, so he will probably be demoted at the end of the race. Aegerter, though, looking up the inside. They're reeling in Granado once more then. So the corners are counting down. Opportunities running out. And the rider in 2nd will not finish there come the end of the race.
Of course, Domi Aegerter doesn't know that Mikel Pons has been given a penalty, because this is the last lap. His team will have had no chance to show that to him, but he's going to try and go right anyway.
Outside. What a move from Aegerter. That's how you do it in MotoE. Sends him wide, and can he get enough room to hunt down Granado in the final corners?
Oh, brilliant stuff there. I thought Ferrari was going to find a way past Pons as well. He's going to have to take a long lap penalty at the final turn, but I think Granado has got it 6/10 in hand coming into the final turns.
It's going to take one heck of a move for Aegerter to get that. I think it's too far. It looks like Granado, if he keeps it upright, will take the first win of the season. This is brilliant stuff. He cuts it wide to get the best drive possible out the final turn. Granado will take victory from Aegerter, and then it will be Ferrari. Pons will see where he finishes, but what a start to 2022, ladies and gentlemen. This is MotoE. Absolutely great stuff to kick off the season.
Yeah, textbook win for Eric Granado. His first race for the LCR squad. Lucio Cecchinello more than overjoyed with that. A little disappointed perhaps that Mikel Pons wasn't able to make it a 1-2. And as you saw there, he didn't actually take his long lap penalty on that final lap there. So I think we're going to see Pons demoted down the order, Matt. Maybe 2 or 3 positions.
Normally it's a 3-second penalty, so he might actually end up finishing 8th ahead of Alex Skrig, which is a disaster. However, do well to remember it is now a 14-race series, so not quite a disaster. He kept it upright, and the same goes for Matteo Casadei, who rejoined the race. In fact, it's not yet crossed the line, but he'll take away no points today, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, great stuff from Granado there. He didn't get too animated or excited in the opening laps, especially as the front row trio broke clear. But he finally found his rhythm, got his way to the front, and maybe was a little fortunate with what happened between Casadei.
That is class from Jordi Torres.
Yeah, between Casadei and Pons going into the final turn. He was the main beneficiary of that. He was able to get 4/10 in hand. But even with that advantage, he still was able to pull a few tenths clear off his pursuers on that final lap. So Great stuff from Granado, his 6th MotoE win in history across the last 3 years and 1 race. That means he's the most victorious MotoE rider of all time to date, Matt.
7 podiums, 6 of which are victories, and there you have it. 3-second penalty for Pons. He will be moved down to 8th position, just ahead of, or will he in fact? He'll go beyond 8th. He'll actually be
9th.
No, he will be 8th.
Oh, it'll be 8th, yes.
Yeah, my maths is terrible. It's been a long day, and I've still got one more race to go. How about this then? The fans are loving that. You can hear all the cheers from the crowd. They really enjoyed that race. Kudos to them for staying on to watch MotoE. The best part yet, everybody, we have another race tomorrow afternoon as well.
Yeah, excellent second place from Domi Aegerter. A strong start to his campaign this year. Aegerter with that move into turn 9 on the final lap, around the outside of Pons from turn 8, then up the inside into turn 9. I think that was probably the move of the race for me. But Domi Aegerter obviously comes so close to MotoE glory in previous years. 3rd, he finished in 2020, and then 2nd a year ago. You do wonder whether Domi can go one better this year.
Also, with long lap penalties, we have Marc Alcoba and Jere Ruiz in there down the order, a little bit further on, initially finishing 12th and 16th. They will not have complied, I don't think. Well, we'll see if they did comply on the final lap. Maybe they did see it. And we do have confirmation then. Mikel Pons finishes P8 in the end, behind Alex Skrig. 3.9 seconds off the win then at the end of that, just ahead of Lucas Tulovic. So it's Granado from Aegerter and Ferrari. And yes, there we have it. Alcoba and Ruiz also got 3-second penalties. Their positions will be adjusted accordingly as well.
Yeah, nice surprise there for Ferrari. He obviously came across the line in 4th, but into Parc Fermé. Strong start to him after a fairly leisurely start by MotoE standards. This is the man. Eric Granado, his 6th victory in the MotoE class. And what a start to life as a rider in Lucio Cecchinello's squad.
Yeah, what a class performance that was from Granado. Nice to see as well. He's calmed down the celebration slightly. His mechanic's probably still recovering from that black eye back in Assen. But yeah, really good stuff from the Brazilian.
Yeah, really good stuff indeed. Great debut in the MotoE class from Alex Skrig. 7th place for him at the checkered flag, just 3.6 seconds off the winner. He's just 17 years old, is the Spaniard. Obviously the reigning European Superstock 600 champion. And bags of talent, clearly enough for Hervé Poncharal and the Tech 3 squad to feel he could well do a few surprise numbers in the championship this year.
Long way to go yet in MotoE 2022. 13 races left in this 7-round series. Longer than ever before. And there is Mikel Pons. Probably frustrated. Wants to plead his case, you would reckon. Here's what happened once again. He does cut it very finely inside. Granado does go rather wide, as does Casadei.
Yeah,
Tough call.
You know what? I'm not sure there was a space there to go.
Well, he did have to cut it on the curb, didn't he?
Yes, exactly. I mean, at first view, and I thought Casadei was actually quite a bit wide, and there was a space there, but it wasn't as if he was really. Yeah, I think that's justifiable, to be honest, Matt.
Yeah.
I think Mikel Pons is maybe deserving of that penalty. I mean, fine margins indeed, and he did have a really good race. It is harsh that he has finished down in 8th at the end of that all. Well, a discussion for another day. But here is the man who finished 3rd. Matteo Ferrari is down in Parc Fermé with Fran.
Here he is indeed. So, Matteo, your eyes looked a little bit surprised when your guys were here in Parc Fermé, pulling you in and saying, no, you're on the podium. But how does it feel? It's a great start to the season for you.
Yeah, I'm really happy about this race because I learned a lot from my rivals. And of course, during the race, I was not too fast during the middle of the race because I have to manage the rear tire. But at the end, I stayed there. I tried to push till the end. I didn't know about my 3rd position, but I'm really happy about that. And of course, tomorrow we have to improve a little bit, but I'm happy.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Ciao.
One of the riders who seems to have adapted better than others to the new layout of the motorcycle and the decreased weight. He really struggled at this time last year, didn't he, to adapt to those new tyres. This one seemed a bit more of a match for Matteo Ferrari.
Exactly, yeah. He never quite got comfortable with his 2021 setup, but that is his 10th podium in the MotoE World Cup, going right the way back to 2019. A strong start to his year. A strong start to this man's year as well. Dominic Aegerter, second place at the end of that race, and he's down in Park Fermé with Fran.
He is indeed. So yeah, lovely little cheer in the background there. Well, Domi, congratulations. We're just saying you're a full house of podiums so far for the races you've done in 2022, and first time out in MotoE in second. You worked your way through there really calmly. Talk us through it.
Yeah, MotoE race is always quite a spectacular race, so they don't spend you a little bit of cap, so it was not so easy to overtake today. I needed to go quite on the limit. I was in P6, 7, so I was thinking, oh, only 4 laps to go, I need to do something. But I think I had a lot of confidence to push on the brake, to push a little bit extra. And the Intact Involved GP team, they make a fantastic job. And it's very nice to be back in the MotoGP paddock. A lot of people around the circuit, so it's nice to be back in normal. And yeah, this season I make 5 races, 5 podium, so it's very nice. And yeah, thanks to all the sponsors. They supported me very well, and I'm looking forward for the second race tomorrow.
I was going to say, let's see if it's 6 from 6. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
5 races, 5 podiums for Dominic Aegerter. I have one thing to say to that. Ka-ching. Dinner on Dommy, ladies and gentlemen. That is a heck of a record to start the season, isn't it? What a way. And great to see how much he clearly loves racing in MotoE as well. He also loves being in the Grand Prix paddock as well, splitting his time between World Supersport 2. And great to see fans back in the paddock, absolutely right. It's nice for the riders, obviously with the bikes being a bit quieter on their cool-down lap. They can really hear the fans cheering for them as well. But one rider topped them all. He's always blockbuster material, whether it's on the track or off it. Eric Granado, the Brazilian, well, he's certainly redeemed himself after last year's error in this very race. He is down in Park Fermé with Fran, your winner.
He is indeed our winner today. 6 MotoE wins now, and it was quite a race. You made some calm but good progress, and then at the end they're just able to keep that gap to the finish. How does it feel to be back on the top step, first time out with this team and first win?
Well, I'm very happy. You know, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to LSR team to trust on my job, and to be with them this year is amazing. I'm very happy with the job we are doing. The bike was perfect during all the weekend. I'm feeling very confident, and after the start I was a little bit on the back of the group. I had some moment there with Ferrari, and I lost some time, and I said, no, calm, don't do any mistakes, and try to be concentrated to catch them. And finally I got it. In the end I had a little bit more, especially in the last 2 sectors, and I could do the overtakes and finally win. So yeah, this is amazing. I'm so happy to start the season like this. I will be very focused to continue on this way during all the season to have a beautiful end of the season for me.
Congratulations, yeah.
And I want to say in Portuguese, like always, quero agradecer a todos que estão aí de casa torcendo. Estou muito feliz com essa vitória. Primeira prova pra gente começou bem. Obrigado a todos que torcem por mim, que é Brasil. Vamos!
Parabéns.
Well, couldn't have put it better myself, to be honest, man.
In Portuguese or English?
In both, obviously. But yeah, great stuff from Eric Granado. As he said, he was so strong in sectors 2 and 3. A succession of really impressive moves into turn 8 took him towards the front of the field. And I think his rivals would be a little scared to hear him say that he still had a little bit in reserve towards the end of that race. But this is the moment when he knew the victory was secure.
He's all passion, is Eric Granado. Sometimes gets the better of him, but sometimes he makes it work for himself too. Can he do it over the course of a 14-race season? That's the big question on him and his team's lips. Brazilian flag at the ready too. I won't spoil anything with Moto 3, but you do wonder whether we could see a Brazilian flag on a Grand Prix podium twice this weekend, perhaps in 2 different classes. Well then, I'm a little bit exhausted, Neil. How about you?
No, that picked me up, I must say, man. Always rely on MotoE for a bit of a barnstormer of a race. That was no exception. 8 laps of real drama and fun. Eric Granado, the victor, heading the championship. He's done this a few times before though, hasn't he? At the start of the year, and we've thought, okay, this looks like a calmer, more measured Granado, but I think stiffer tests will obviously come through this year.
Yeah, to be fair, he got a solid start to the season last year. Yes, he crashed in the first race, remounted to take 3 points, 13th position. He bounced back in Le Mans to take the victory. That cracking race at the end of it. Then he crashed out in Catalonia, bounced back in Assen to take another win. Then a second place in Austria, and then a crash in the first race of Misano put him out of contention. Dominic Aegerter comes out onto the podium then, along with Matteo Ferrari. Multiple winners in the class. The slot. Eric Granado comes out then to the big cheers from the LCR team. How much do they need some solid results in this Class A? I mean, yes, Mikel Pons got a win for them last year. It's a bit difficult for the other side of the garage. So we have the trophies being presented then. Elena Bernardes, General Manager of Endesa, X-Way. New trophies for this year as well, Neil. More minimalist, I'm a fan of that.
Very slick, I must say. This is Ignacio Verneda, the FIM Deputy President, presenting the second place trophy to Dominic Aegerter.
Aegerter getting charged big time by all these airlines for all the extra luggage space he needs for all these trophies. And Elena Bernardes back again to present the first place trophy.
Yeah, and as you said, Matt, it's been a tough time for the LCR squad in MotoGP this year, but Eric Granado providing a little bit of light for them in MotoE.
There we go then, the national anthem of Brazil ringing out. Eric Granado, absolutely mad for it, isn't he? He just loves racing here in MotoE. Yes, above all, he does love the winning himself. So let's spray some Prosecco, everybody. Elena jumps out of the way, understandably so. She doesn't want any part of that. And we'll be getting a look at the final results and the championship standings after race 1 of round 1. Surprisingly so, they're going to be exactly the same.